everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I've got a fun project for you today. This is a project I have waited for some time to do. It's one of my favorite quilts. For a while, I was bringing home these antique quilts, and I'd say to Natalie, we've got to do a tutorial on this. And she would say, Mom, it's the same thing. It's 5440 or fight. And it was just how the colors were different and the layout is different. So this is a quilt with a lot of options. So let's take a look at this quilt behind me. So this looks so illusional. It looks like we've got curved piecing in here. The pattern is awesome. I just love how it comes together, and we've got an easy way for you to do it. So no stress. This is one of those quilts where if it looks hard to you, watch the tutorial because it's way easier than you think. All right, so to make this quilt, what you're going to need is one packet of 10-inch squares, and we have used the Grunge Seeing Stars by Basic Gray for Moda. You're going to also need a packet of 10-inch squares for all your background squares, or you can use yardage. If you use yardage, you're going to use 3 1/4 yards, and that also includes this inner border right here. The outer border out here is a 6-inch border, and you're going to need 1.5 yards for that. Now on the backing here, again, we've used this cute Seeing Stars Grunge fabric, and you're going to need 4 3/4 yards for that. So this quilt is called 5440 or fight, and that was a dispute in the 1800s over borders between us and the British. And you can look up and read all about it on Wikipedia, but it's a really interesting concept how the quilters actually made quilts to support their cause, and it was called 5440 or fight. All right, so let's talk about how to do this. So this quilt is actually made with 2 blocks. We have this blocks here, which is basically 4 patches and star legs. And then we have this plain block here, which is a churn dash, a simple churn dash. And let me show you how it fits here. So here's where this goes, right here. And so we're going to start with this one. This one is really fun. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our piece of fabric right here, and we're going to cut it into 4 5-inch squares because we need to make half square triangles out of them. So I'm going to take 2 of these because it only takes 2 to make 4, if that makes any sense. I hope it does. It will by the time we're done. All right. So what we're going to do then is we're going to take these squares and we are going to sew a line or draw a line and sew on either side of them to make this. You can iron the line as well. It's your preference. I'm just going to draw mine on there. And we're going to sew on either side. One of the filmers just corrected me and said that this could be a shoofly block, not a churn dash block. It's the same style of block, kind of, so I actually don't think it matters really what it's called. It's a great block and it's an easy block, so let me show you. We'll just get on to making it. I'm going to sew 1/4 inch on either side of this line on both blocks. So I sew down and then I just pull it around like this and sew down the other side. All right, there's one, and now here's the next one. And down both sides of that line. And that's going to make us 4 half square triangles. So now we're going to cut down the middle on our drawn line, like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my half square triangle here, and I'm going to lay my, this is called the Clearly Perfect Slotted Trimmer, and I'm going to name it, or lay it right here. The stitch line matches my stitch line, and this trims your half square triangles so easily. All right, so here we go. We're over here, and we're going to cut here. And then 2 more, and we're trimming these to 4 1/2. And last one here. All right. All right, so now let's press these open. All right, so 4 of these. Now, one of the things to remember is that when you're making a block that has 3 rows of 3, it's a basic 9-patch block. all your blocks have to be the same size. So we have now made these half square triangles that are 4.5. So all of our other blocks need to be 4.5. So we're going to get these all set with the dark colors coming in on the corner, and then our center block we've trimmed to 4.5 already, and so it's going to go here, and all the rest of these are white blocks, and they will need to be trimmed to 4.5 as well. So let me grab, I need 4 of those, and basically what I'm going to do is show you how to make these 2 blocks, because then when you put them together, you just stagger it, and it's just quick and easy. So once you know how to make the blocks, you're going to be home free. All right, so this is a 5-inch block. I'm going to take a 1/2 inch off 2 sides, like this. And then we're going to set these in here like this. And then we'll just sew 3 rows of 3 together. See how that comes together? Just like that. And so now all of these blocks are 4.5, and let's sew our rows together. So basically what I'm going to do is sew half the block at one time. So I'm going to take this first one right here, sew down the side like this. Now I'm going to grab the next 2 right here, and I'm going to chain piece these together. And then this block is going to come over here and lay on top of this one. And then these 2 I'm going to grab as well. And sew 1/4 inch right down the side. Right here. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this row around and sew these other pieces to the other side of the row, just like this. So this is a good time to remember that when you're putting these half square triangle rows together, the largest part of your color goes against that middle square. I have to always remember those things so that otherwise I'll end up with a one that's going one funny way. All right, then the white goes on the other side of this one, or the background, whatever color you choose. And then this one comes over here, and it's going to go together this way. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to open this up and make sure that all of these are going the right way. And because I've chain pieced them like that, the block is together. I don't even have to pin. And I'm just going to lay these over and sew these rows together just like that. So we want to make sure that we match the junctions, you know, the little where the seams come together. And so we're going to just have one go one way and one go the other way and feel for that nesting. All right, so now we're just going to sew 1/4 inch right down this side and attach these rows together. All right, now we're on to the top 2 rows, and our block will be finished just like that. Oops. All right, so now you're going to line up this next row, and we are going to nest our seams right up here. I'm making sure that they're nice and tight. There we go. All right, and block number 1 is done, and I'm just going to press that right here, make it lay all nice. All right, so once you get this all pressed, you're just going to start making several of them. You're going to actually need 12 for this quilt, for one this size, and 13 of the other block. This is our other block right here. And we're going to start with our corner blocks. There are 4 patches. And so to make a 4 patch, what you want to do is you want to start with a 5-inch square. And we're going to cut our piece in half right here, because 2 5-inch squares is going to make 4 patches. So we're going to cut this into 2 5-inch squares. And then we're going to make 4 patches out of them. So the way I like to make 4 patches for this one is I'm going to take my 2 background squares like this, and I'm going to sew down both sides, just the sides of these blocks. So let's do that. So now when I finish this one, I'm just going to go on to the next one. And then I can turn them both around and come up the other side. So we're only sewing the sides. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to cut these apart. Although you don't have to, but I do. I have to. And then we're going to measure 2.5 from the edge and cut these in half, like this. And then one more here. There we go. And then we're going to press these open, and we are going to press to the dark side. So I'm going to set my seam. Can you still see everything here? I'm going to set my seam and roll these back like this. Make a little stack of them. And one more. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put these together opposite sides. So the blue goes to the white and the white to the blue. And then we're going to sew the sides again and cut them in half. So just make sure your colors are opposite. Let me iron that seam a little better. Give it a little shot of steam. And we're going to sew a quarter of an inch just on the sides. All right, now I take a few stitches and then I just make sure that's nested up there real nice. And I'm just going to swing this around to the other side. I could have chain pieced it, but I forgot my piece. So let's make sure this fits together nice. And then grab this other one. All right, line it up. Sew a quarter of an inch down. And then I'm going to come around here and do this side as well. Make sure it stays lined up. Sometimes they can get a little wonky on you. All right. Now again, we're going to cut these in half, and that will give us our 4 patches for the corners. So 2.5 from the edge and 2.5 from the edge. All right, and there's your 4 patches right there. So let's press those open. And these 4 patches should be 4.5 inches. That's what we're shooting for anyway. All right, so we're going to press all of these open, get them ready to go. And then we're just going to set them aside. And now we're going to do the star legs. Now with the star legs, you'll notice that the color is the background and the legs are the white part. So this is where the freestyle part comes in. And I love being able to do this because generally you need you need templates to do this block. And I wanted to do it without templates. So this is where that fun comes in. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to cut this into a 5-inch square right here, like this. And this is my background. And I'm going to cut these in half. So I should have 2.5 by 5-inch rectangles for each block. Let me see how many I did here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So perfect. Now I need 4 of the background color. So I'm going to choose another piece from here. And these blocks have to be 4.5. Because remember, all our blocks have to be the same size. So these outer blocks have to be 4.5, which means I'm going to cut these from the layer cake 4.5 like this. So 4.5, and then another 4.5-inch strip, which gives me just a tiny little strip left over for some string piecing later. And then I'm going to cut these at 4.5 as well. Alrighty, wait a minute, make sure it's all lined up nice. All right, so now what we're going to do to make the star legs, I'm just going to stack these over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our little rectangles, 2.5 by 5, and we're going to lay them like this. It doesn't really matter where they end up. It matters that this part right here crosses over the middle. So if you're worried about that, make a little crease in the top. Look at that crease. I can actually make a line here. You can look at that little line and make sure that when you put your leg on there that it's past that. And so I'm just going to sew that on like this. And then I'm going to press this back. So I'm just going to come over here and press this back. And then I'll sew the other leg on. And the other leg also has to cross over like this. Cross over the top. And then you just bring it down however long you want that leg to be. Because I'm a creature of habit, mine tend to end up almost in the same place every time. But then what we're going to do is we're going to sew this 1/4 inch down. And iron this back like this. And this is what it looks like finished, but we're going to flip it over. We're going to use this square as our template, and we're just going to cut those pieces off. So we're going to trim this up right here like that. Like this. And cut this side off right there, like this. So now this looks like star legs. So we're going to go ahead and make 4 of those. And when I do this, I chain piece them. I do all one side. And I cross them over and sew down all one side. Like this. 1. Oop. And this becomes that fun kind of sewing that doesn't have to be exact. You know, I really like this kind of sewing where it's like, oh, we're making legs and it's okay wherever they end up, you know. All right, so then what I do is I just kind of finger press these back while I'm sitting here. And I do this just because I'm a lazy sewer. I don't want to get up and go to the iron. Actually, when I make these in my studio, I have a little nest. I have my ironing board right here and have my cutting mat right there. And then I don't have to actually get up and move, which probably isn't the healthiest tip you've had today. All right, so let's lay these across and sew up the other side. And we'll do the same thing. You know what? I'm going to take these apart because I'm getting confused where my angle is. Make sure you watch. All right, so here we go. Nice leg down there. And then this one. And we just, again, we're going to put our leg so it crosses over up here, goes down as long as we want it. All right, now let's press these open and trim these. Now, somebody asked me once if you need to cut that background fabric off. You can if you want to. That's entirely up to you. I know for a fact that a quilt machine can actually go through through 2 layers of fabric. You know, it's gone through my finger before, and it's gone through a metal ruler before, so I do know that it can sew through it, so it's kind of up to you. I leave it. This whole quilt was made. I didn't trim any of those background pieces. I think it looks fine. You know, just don't stress over some of those little details too much. All right. Again, what we're doing is we're flipping these over using the charm square as our pattern and trimming all 3 sides. This would be a great time to use a rotary mat. You could just zip that around. All right, one more. So now you've got your blocks all ready to go and we're ready to lay it out. Our star legs are going to go opposite of each other like this, all pointing in toward the middle. All those points come in toward the middle. Our corner squares are our 4 patches, and you're going to put the dark color in the dark color touches the white star legs. And that's true on all four sides. So you want your dark color facing in on all four sides. And then your center square. So let's talk about that for a minute, because this block here has a different center square. And when we were making this, we did some design things because color makes a huge difference on this quilt. And we ended up going with, right here, you can see this is actually pretty close to the block I'm making, but we made our center square the same as our 4 patches, which means our center square here has got to be blue, like our 4 patches, and it brings the block together. We just felt like that helped it crisscross a little better, but that's entirely up to you. Have fun with this and play with this and see what happens as you start putting things together. So now we're going to sew these rows together, and we're going to do them just like we did our other ones. So I'm going to sew the sides of all of these like this as I go along. And this is the side of our middle row, and this is the side of our bottom row, and it just helps me kind of keep it together when I do this. And then you're going to flip these around and put your blocks on the other side as well. So just make sure that your dark color stays up close by the white leg. There we go. And this is our middle block, and it has star legs pointing toward the center. So like this. And then this is our last one here, and again it's got the 4 patch where the dark color goes toward the middle. Now we're ready to attach our rows, and we just want to open this up and make sure that everything's going the right direction, and it is. So we'll lay that right on top of each other. And make sure our seams nest up. Now, one of the things that's nice about this is because on the star legs, because we cut that block down to 4.5, you've got plenty of room to sew your seam. You won't lose your point at all, which I really like. So then we don't, it's nice when you can have good sharp points without any stress. And that's what we have here, good sharp points with no stress. All right, now this second block is ready to go. And so let me iron that. And you're going to need just one more of these, so 13 of these to make this size quilt. And they're just beautiful, aren't they stunning? So then you're just going to set them together, and you're going to start with your 4 patch and your shoofly block and your 4 patch block and your shoofly block. And let's look at the quilt behind me. So right here we've started with this 4 patch block right here. You can see that. And then the shoofly block, and then the 4 patch, the shoofly, and the 4 patch. So the next row, you're just going to stagger it. And so you start, or over here, we're going to start with the shoofly block, and it just staggers it. And it makes these cool patterns that look like there's curves and all kinds of fun things going on. And it just makes such a great quilt. So I hope you have fun with this, and I hope you enjoy it. We're calling it the 5440 or Fight Freestyle block because we had some fun with those legs and did it with no templates. And we hope you enjoyed this tutorial from the Missouri Star Quilt Company.